Have you done it? Have you finished Iron Fist Season 1? Well, let's talk about that ending and what we think is going to happen in Season 2. Spoilers ahead! Hey guys, I'm Tyler, and you're watching Super Squad D, where the D stands for Davos. So what did you think about the end of Iron Fist Season 1? I thought it was a good season. Not going to dive into this. I enjoyed it. The second half was a lot better than the first half, I felt like. We won't get into all that in this video. I might make a video that's kind of a summary or a recap or my impressions and a review of Season 1. But I want to talk about where we think this show is headed, the potential for Season 2, and what your theories are on what might be coming around the corner. So, at the end of this season, we saw Davos meeting with Joy and Madame Gal behind her, and Davos was telling Joy, we gotta kill Danny Rand, trying to convince Joy that Danny was a problem and that Danny was really the cause for everyone's issues. Meanwhile, Danny shows up to Kunlun and the entrance is gone. The whole place is already phased out, it's gone. So what's that all about? I got some theories. Okay, I think this is what happened. I think Davos, he got into his fight with Danny, he tried to go back to Kunlun, and I think by the time he got there, Kunlun had already phased out of reality. Because it only comes in every 15 years, is what they said in the show. I think it had already phased out of reality. And so, he's now trapped here in this plane on Earth for 15 years. And he blames Danny completely. He wouldn't have left if it hadn't been for Danny. If Danny hadn't left his guard, everything would have been fine. We saw those hand ninjas that were dead there. I kind of think that's a bit of a red herring. I don't think that there's going to be like a hand takeover of Kunlun or anything. I think those are there just to kind of throw us off. Maybe Davos killed him or something. I don't know. But I think that he blames Danny for being trapped here. Meanwhile, Madame Gal, who we know is insanely powerful, and we'll talk about her in just a second, but Madame Gal seeks him out, and I think she says, hey, look, I can give you power. Now, how is she going to give Davos power? That kind of brings us into who Madame Gal is, but I think there's really two options here if Davos is going to get some form of powers, which, spoiler alert from the comics, Davos becomes one of Iron Fist's greatest enemies named Steel Serpent. And at one point in the comics, he does get powers. So here's what I see as a possibility. Option one, I think Davos could get powers similar to Iron Fist from another heavenly city. Now, for those who don't know, Kunlun is one of the heavenly cities, but there's actually 7 heavenly cities in the comics. Whether or not that's going to continue over into the show, I don't know, but I kind of think it will, and I think it's going to be an important part of Season 2. I think we're going to see possibly all of the heavenly cities, and possibly some of Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker's comic book arc in Season 2 as they adapt that for a storyline. I hope so, at least, because that was a great arc. If you don't know about that, you can check out, I did a review of the Iron Fist Omnibus early on in the channel. You can look through those videos and find that out and kind of figure out what's going on there. But I think there's a potential for Davos to become another city's champion. And how could he do that? Well, there's a lot of speculation about Madame Gal and who Madame Gal is. Madame Gal said that she'd been to Kunlun. Some people think maybe she grew up in Kunlun or is from Kunlun, and that's certainly a possibility. I'm not sure. But a lot of people think that she is what's known as the Crane Mother in the comic books, who is a leader of another heavenly city, just like Lei Kung was. So, is it possible that she has an entire heavenly city behind her? We know that she's been alive for a really long time because she says that she spent most of the 17th century captive and being denied food and water. She said that earlier on in the season. So, is it possible that she leads another city and for some reason she's not there? She stays here on this side instead of being in her city, but that she has the ability to give Davos the power of the immortal weapon from her city? Yeah, I think definitely. I think that's definitely possible. Another thing they could do is they could have Madame Gal somehow give Davos the ability to steal Iron Fist power away from him and to give it to himself. Now, I don't know that they're going to go that route, but they certainly could, because that's also been done in the comics. And if they did that, they wouldn't have to say that Madame Gal is the leader of another heavenly city or anything. They could just say she knows of a ritual or has an ability that will let Davos do that. So why is Davos bad? Well, we know that Davos from the series and just from context really wanted to be the Iron Fist. Like, he believed that was his birthright, and that got taken from him. And at this point, not only was he upset that he didn't get it, but he was kind of fine with his friend getting it. But now that his friend has totally gone against everything that the Iron Fist is supposed to be in his eyes, he feels like he's an enemy and he has to do whatever he can for his city to take it back. Now, the problem I had with the way that it ended is the Joy Meacham situation. I did not like that Joy was there talking to them. I'm going to be really mad if in season 2 Joy turns out to be bad, only because I feel like based on the character of her we've seen so far, she would listen to Davos say that about Dany. She'd be like, all right, I hear you, cool, let me think about it. And then she would immediately go and call Dany and tell him, hey dude, this guy Davos is trying to kill you, just FYI. Because Joy likes Dany, number one, she's got a conscience, number two, and she, even in the last episode, she was really upset over the fact that her father was framing Dany for something he didn't do because she knew that wasn't true. And she knew Dany was a good guy. He saved her life. So it would be really out of character for her, I feel like, to suddenly just flip like that on Dany and on the good guys, essentially, and for her to become bad. Again, I don't think they're going to do that. I think that's just kind of a red herring, much like the hand at Cone 1. I think it's going to be a small part of season 2, and I don't expect her to be bad. But if she is, I'll be really ticked off, because I don't think that'd be in her character at all. So what did you think about the way the season ended? What do you think is going to happen in season 2? Those are kind of my predictions. I think that Davos is going to get powers either from Iron Fist or he's going to get powers from Madame Gal, who's potentially the leader of another heavenly city. And I think that that's where the first part of season 2 is going to go, and I think it's going to lead into the Tournament of the Immortal Weapons. If you like the content you're seeing on this channel and you like some of these discussions, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a ton. And leave a comment below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. As always, I'm Tyler, and you're watching Super Squad D, where the D stands for Davos!